Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Max Warframe, where we're finally taking a look at the last of the weapons released in the War Within update. Beware, there may be some very minor spoilers ahead when we take a look at the weapon of the Kuva Guardians, and that is the Kesheg. Now, the Kesheg's the latest weapon to be introduced as a clan tech weapon. Does require not only some Kuva for the research, but also requires 1,400 Kuva to build, which is 3 extractors worth. Nowhere near as bad as the 4,000 for the Orpheus, but still something your needs are going to have to get before you build it. But what do you get from the weapon stats wise once you've completed that build? Well, you get a weapon that has the highest base damage of all of the polearms, and that is 105. The majority of that comes in the form of slash with 52.5, 42 as impact, and 10 as puncture. That's pretty much as good as it gets though. A critical chance of just 7.5%, 2.5 times critical multiplier. It's not really enough for a traditional crit build, although it is enough just about for a Maiming strike build, and I'm going to show that a little bit later, especially when you take into account its very large range. A 10% status chance though, it's not exactly fantastic, not something you really want to be modding for. In addition to that, it's got a very slow 0.83 attack speed, meaning you're going to badly need to either get Prime Fury or Berserker if you're going to go for a Maiming Strike build. Now, recently, this would be the part of the video where I would talk about any special mechanics the weapon has, but the Kesheg doesn't have any, so let's move on to stances. Stances I prefer, well, the stance I prefer for this is Shimmering Blight, which is lucky since that's the one that matches the polarity of the weapon to begin with. The standard combo of Slashing Wing is a 3E combo, all of which are very wide arcing hits. Also has a very high element to it, allows you to hit flying targets with ease, cameras, disruption doors, all that sort of thing. 2 of those 3 hits have a 2 times damage multiplier. Now, I know that Bleeding Willow's 4E combo, Lethal Gust, that also has 2 times multiplier hits and is wide arcing and has high elements. However, I find the hitboxes to be a little more unforgiving than Slashing Wing. Plus they are the 2 times multipliers, they're on the 2nd and 4th hits of the combo, meaning that the Slashing Wing combo, where the 2 times damage is on 2 and 3, you're going to be pulling those double hit damage, or double damage hits more often with Lethal Gust than you would with the other combo. Naturally though, stances really are personal preference, however, and these are only the reasons I prefer Shimmering Blight. Although if you're using the Maiming Strike build, it doesn't really matter what you use, to be honest. Talking of builds, how did I go about building it? Well, since it comes with the V polarity already, I added 2 former, both of which were Vs for a total of 3 Vs overall. The first build is the non-Maiming Strike one, so we got Prime Pressure Point on there, Prime Fury for attack speed, Prime Reach for more range, got Body Count on there for more combo timer. You can use Drifting Contact if you want to, or if you don't have Body Count. An unranked Life Strike because a fully ranked one will cause problems with melee that has a lot of range. Each enemy you're going to hit is going to drain energy and is going to contribute to your lifesteal. So a max rank 1 with 12 energy per drain per hit on a weapon with a lot of range can really hurt your energy if you're not careful. Then we got 3 90% elemental mods for really pushing up the damage of this thing. It's a very solid build that can deal with the salty enemies without too many problems. The second build, however, is the Maiming Strike build. We got Pressure Point on there, Primed Reach again, and Berserker this time, Body Count Blood Rush for the crit combo, Maiming Strike for that extra 90% critical chance on the slide attacks, and then the 2 90% elementals this time, because again, you know, the status chance really isn't worth modding for. It's a pretty standard Maiming Strike build, to be honest. It's probably the strongest build for this thing, however it's not the most interesting engaging gameplay, so it's not going to be to everyone's liking and to everyone's taste. Plus, not everyone has Maiming Strike, which is why I give out both of these builds. So do I recommend picking up the Kesheg and maxing it out? And to be honest, if you like your polearms, it's definitely worth it. It's one of the top weapons in its category, with only the Vacor Sidon and the Legion really pipping it to the top spot. It's a very solid weapon, and even without Maiming Strike, it's going to get you into having a salty-worthy melee weapon. I don't really have a lot else to say about this, to be honest. It's a pretty standard melee weapon. In fact, there's a reason I've taken so long to do this weapon. It's just so uninteresting. Does the Kesheg bring anything new to the table the other polearms didn't already do? Not really, no. It's just another polearm. It doesn't feel any different to an Orthos Prime or the Tombow. At least with something like a rifles, things like fire rate, stability, accuracy, even the noise, they all work together to make a weapon feel completely different from each other. The Soma Prime compared to the Grakata, for example, both fully automatic crit-based rifles, but you would never say they feel exactly the same, and Melee just doesn't have that. They need to be mechanically different for them to feel different from each other. It's a tough situation, I'll admit, but most Melee weapon categories are fleshed out enough that we can have a little bit of extra time between melee weapons to have some cool mechanics added to these new weapons. I know that sounds like a rant, and it's not meant to be like that, but it's hard to get enthusiastic about something that I've effectively reviewed multiple times before. I've done an Orthos Prime review, I've done a Tomboy review, I've done weapons in the same class. It's not a horrible weapon, like if you actually look at the weapon itself. Far from it, it's sortie worthy for the most part, although it does suffer very badly against enemies that have armour because of the lack of crit if you don't do the Maiming strike build and the lack of status chance. If you like polearms, it's a very solid weapon and it's going to do you very well if you decide to use it. But also for mindlessly slashing through waves upon waves of lower level enemies, it's effective because of its base damage combined with the range, which is why half the footage is from the Clem mission. Well, that and I've not run the Clem mission since it came out, and I fancied showing some footage of it. So, sorry that it took so long to get this video out. However, from what I've seen, I'm certainly not the only one to have not done a video on this thing. I urge you all to check out the 3 Amigos video on Wednesday. We're joined by a friend that you should know from my armor videos. We've got Gextroll, and we are playing some of the Space Hulk Deathwing beta. My next few Warframe video are going to be likely going back to the days where I used to do something other than weapon build guides, and I'm going to be doing guides of how to complete the spy vaults. Now, I've seen a lot of people struggling with the vaults on sortie missions, and I think this may be the time to actually have done some guides on it. I'll be showcasing how to do it quickly as Loki, and how to do it as any other frame other than Loki really. Spy is a fantastic way to level, especially if you get to know the vaults themselves, and I hope I can help with this. However, as always, many thanks for watching. Feel free to smash that like button to sub if you like my content, and I shall see you in the next video.